By the way, this is one of the biggest mistakes that you can do related to references. This one thing can cost you your reference and your relationship with this person, so never ever do that. It's really not that difficult, you just need to follow these steps. So you're looking for a new job and you're applying, and then you find out that references may be needed upon request. Panic, what to do now? How can you get those references on time? In this video today, I want to talk about 5 steps for how you can get good references for your job application. In case you're not familiar with the whole job application process yet, in Canada as well as in most parts of the world, usually employers will ask for 2 to 3 references, usually 3. And usually they will ask you for these references towards the end of the application process. So once you've gone through the whole interviewing process and your employer likes you, then usually in the last step, the HR contact person will ask you to provide a list of 2 to 3 references. So let's start off with how do you submit these references? It's pretty simple. You type the names and the contacts, so the email and the phone number of the reference in a Word document, and you convert that to PDF. And important, don't forget to give the file an appropriate name. Don't just let the file name be a document or something like that. It would make it seem as though you didn't care. So give the file an appropriate name. For example, a combination of your name, the word references, and the job title. Is that it? No, not at all. So let's start again. So let's start talking about the 5 steps to get good references for a successful job application. Each of these steps are super important to make it work. And later on, I'll also tell you about one mistake that you definitely need to avoid because that could possibly cost you your reference and your job. Step number 1, select the people that you want to have as a reference. This is a list of reference candidates, if you will. So who could these people be? These could be your professors from school, your employer, meaning your supervisor, manager, boss. It could be your direct manager or also your skip level manager if you have a good relationship with them, which means the manager of your manager. In short, let's just call them employer. What about coworkers? No, unfortunately, coworkers are not suitable to be used as reference because you don't report to your coworkers and your coworkers don't really have a comprehensive idea of your job scope and they're not in a position to evaluate your job performance. What about your current employer? Can your current boss, manager be your reference? You could do this on a case-by-case basis. If you have a very good long-standing relationship with your boss and you know for sure that they want your best, they are very supportive, then go ahead and do it. But in general, be very careful with this. Why? Just put yourself in their shoes. Imagine that you are the manager and your employee wants to leave the company for another better paying job. At the moment, your own headcount is very tight, you're overloaded with work, and you're chasing deadlines, and the last thing you want to happen right now is someone leaving your team. And now that person comes up to you, and not only are they handing you their resignation letter and about to say bye-bye, but they're also asking you to be their reference. And whether or not that person will serve as a good reference for you will really depend on the character of that person. Can that person really be that objective? Does that person care about you and are they supportive enough that they will put in a good word for you? Or on the other hand, will they feel pissed off that you left them? Or they might say yes, but later on when they get called by your new employer, they're not really putting you in the best light, if you know what I mean. So you really need to judge for yourself whether or not you want to use your current employer, your boss as your reference, but I would just say tread very carefully. If you have other options, then prioritize those. Personally, I would always try and choose someone from my previous jobs who I'm on good terms with. For example, an ex-boss whom I worked with a few years ago, with whom I'm still in touch with until this day. Whoever you choose, a very important criteria is that that person needs to still remember in what capacity you worked together, what your responsibilities and duties were. Of course, at some point you talk to them and you can refresh their minds. All I'm saying is that that person you want to use as a reference needs to remember enough about you to be able to put in a good word for you. Another very important criteria when choosing a reference is that you have to know that the person is someone who will support you. You want to choose someone who you are 100% confident that they will say good things about you and not trash you behind your back. And I'm sure you know who those people are. So let's say that now you have your list of potential references. So now you can go on and give them to your future employer. Hold on, not that fast. We're not done yet. Although you put them on your list, you haven't informed them yet. And this is one very crucial step that you cannot miss. So let's go on to step number 2, which is you need to contact your references early on in the job application process. You need to contact those people early on when you're just about to start your job search. And let's talk about two cases here, one where you're still in school and one where you're already working. When you're still in school, before you graduate, start contacting the professors that you want to have as a reference. Ask them far in advance if they will be your reference. It's the same thing if you are currently working. The moment you intend to look for another job, reach out to your ex-bosses and give them a heads up. Tell them that you're in the process of looking for a new job and you wanted to know whether they're willing to be your reference. So whether that's your professor or your ex-boss, it's important to let them know in advance what's going on, even though you haven't applied for a job yet. The goal of reaching out to them at that stage is to get a general green light from them. So if they say, oh yes, I'd be really happy to help you out, then you know that you can count on them. And later on when the day comes and you need their help, you just need to contact them again. But if you ask them and they either say no, which is quite unlikely, or they just don't answer your email, then you know that you need to strike them off the list and look for another reference. And I know sometimes getting in touch with people whom you're not talked to for a while can be a bit tricky. And that brings me to step 2B here. To make it easier to reach out for people to help, you need to be sure that you maintain a relationship with these people. Oftentimes, it feels awkward when you go and contact someone only if you need something, and will also feel awkward for the other person. And that is why it's a good idea throughout your career to maintain a good relationship with some key people. People whom you've had a good working relationship with, bosses, colleagues, etc. And just keep in touch with them throughout the years. It doesn't need to be anything elaborate. It can be something as simple as saying happy birthday, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and so on, just to stay in touch. And to avoid the surprise of who? Where did you suddenly appear from? Awkward. By the way, guys, if you like this video and you think that these tips will help you in your job application, then do me a favor and hit the like button. That would really help my channel and also help this video to be pushed out to more people. And also, if you've been watching my videos for a while and you feel that you've gotten a lot of value out of my videos, then you can also support what I'm doing by contributing with a super thanks down below. Thank you. Now let's go on to step number 3, which is asking for permission. But didn't I already contact them? So what we've done in step number 2 is giving them a heads up before you've even got into the whole job application process. So even though at that time, let's say 6 months ago, they already agreed to be your reference, don't just go ahead and put their name on the list and submit it to your new employer. Because the thing is that after 6 or 8 months, that person, that reference, might have already forgotten about the whole thing. And then when suddenly that employer calls them up, they will be caught off guard. They have no idea what's going on. Who is calling me? What has this person applied to, and what am I supposed to say, and so on. Or even worse, by the way, this is one of the biggest mistakes that you can do related to references, is to put someone's name on your reference list and submit it to an employer without having ever asked them. Man, can I tell you, they will be so pissed off, and you really don't want to do that. I mean, just put yourself in their shoes. Imagine that you are the manager of someone, an employee, let's just call him David. You're minding your own business and then suddenly your phone rings and you get a phone call, let's say from the company Dell. And this HR person on the phone starts talking about David and asking you about how your experience was working with him, and you're just so caught off guard and you're confused about what is going on. And while you're trying to be polite to this HR person, you're secretly kind of annoyed. Why didn't this David ask me first before giving out my number and having them contact me? So this one thing can cost you your reference and your relationship with this person, so never ever do that. This is what you do instead. When you get to that interviewing stage and you think that everything is going well, the deal is not signed yet, but it seems that things are working out in your favor and going well, that is the perfect time to contact your reference. Shoot them an email, an SMS, or give them a call and tell them that you've just applied for a job, and ask them if they're still okay to be your reference, and if so, which number or contact they prefer to be put on the reference list, because they might have several email addresses or phone numbers and they have a preference for how they want to be contacted. If you haven't talked to this contact for a while, I think that it is a really good idea to get them on a call. Ask them for just 10 to 15 minutes to get on a call so you can update them about what's going on. And here are some things that you need to update them about. First, let them know what job you're applying for, what is the company, and what is the role. Give them a summary of your future responsibilities. Number 2, very important, refresh them on your working relationship. If it's been a while that you worked for this ex-boss, very possibly that reference or that ex-boss or professor will be the one who asks you to update them, to remind them what capacity you worked in together in the past, what projects you worked on together. The goal of doing this is to gently prep your reference so that when your future employer calls them up, they're prepared and they're not confused about what to say. Alternatively, if you've been in touch with this contact, if you've been chatting with them, and especially if they've been your reference before, then it might be sufficient to just text them. Here's an example. After we moved to Canada, my husband switched jobs several times. Each time he applied for a new job, he had 3 references on his list, and one of these references was always the same person. So they had a really good working relationship, they understood each other very well, and she was very supportive and she knew the drill, and because of that it was sufficient for my husband to just send her a text and say, "Hi so and so, how are you? I am applying for this job, just wanted to check again if you're okay to be my reference. Can I put this number on the list?" And then she replied, "Yes, I'm okay, I'd love to help," and so on, and the job is done. So that was step number 3. Ask for permission before you put the contact on your reference list. Step number 4, thank your reference. This is so important. So let's say you've submitted your reference list and your employer contacted your reference and you got the job. Congratulations! But don't just disappear. If you just disappear, then it's very likely that your reference will never be your reference again. After you got a job, or even if you didn't get the job, make sure that you update your reference. Tell them, for example, that you got the job and thank them. Now let's go on to step number 5 to get good references for your job application, which is to maintain relationships. Again, didn't we just talk about this? Yes, we did talk about this earlier, but because this is so important, I do need to add some points here. I would say that this part, maintaining your relationships, is the most important thing of the whole process, because without this, you will not be able to get good references. Here's the thing. Your job application now might have been successful, but you never know when you will need the help of these people again. You might not stay in this new job forever. It's possible that in 1 or 2 years you might switch jobs and then need their help again to be your reference. And that is why it's so important that you keep maintaining the relationship. And let's talk a bit about how you do that. You could send them a text on their birthday or say Happy New Year. You could just shoot them an email once in a while and update them what you're doing at the moment, ask them how they're doing. Another thing that one of my friends once did is to send a cake to their reference on their birthday. Nothing extravagant, something as simple as a cake or some cookies, just to show that you really appreciate their help. After all, these people, your references, are going out of their way to vouch for you. They don't have to do it and they don't get paid for it. The only reason they do it is because they want to help you, support you, and they believe in you. And if you show them some appreciation, then you can be pretty sure that in the future they will be willing to be your reference again. And that is why it's so important that you maintain your relationships. If you do not have good relationships, there's no way that you can get good references. The thing is that you cannot buy references. The only way to get good references is to maintain good and genuine relationships with other people, so they will be more than happy to help you. I hope this video was useful to you guys. Let me know in the comments below what other videos you would like me to make. I will definitely consider your suggestions, and if I have something useful to say on that topic, I will think about making a video on that. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Bye.